Hi guys, good day to everyone. This video is the continuation of the first videos that we have regarding conceptual framework. And technically, na-discuss na natin yung first four types of conceptual framework, namely theoretical framework, causal framework, descriptive framework, and yung process or procedural framework. And ngayon, we will be discussing the last one, which is known as the IPO model. But disclaimer muna, my dear researchers, these five types of conceptual framework are the commonly used type of conceptual framework. But aside from these five, meron pa tayong ibang types of conceptual framework na pwedeng gamitin sa paper natin. It depends na lamang kung ano yung intention or purpose ng study natin. But for the time being, allow me to discuss to you the IPO model, or also known as the input, process, and output model. Okay, so ngayon, bakit ba kailangan natin gumamit ng IPO model? Magandang gumamit ng IPO model because IPO model help the researchers to technically describe and analyze the systems and processes that they will be using in the conduct of their research paper. Anong ibig sabihin noon? Once that the researchers kasi utilize IPO model, this model will be focused on the four basic parts of our paper. For example, the input. The input will present the problems that you want to explore on your research paper. The process, it talks about the procedures that you will be utilizing for you to answer the questions that you have on your input part. Then we also have here the output. What is your expected outcomes after you conducted the study? So if that is your intention, IPO model is the best type of framework na pwede natin gamitin. But aside from that, Creswell and Creswell 2018 highlighted that if the research paper aims to produce a specific output, for example, meron kayong plan of action, meron kayong strategic plan, or meron kayong motivational plan na gagawin sa paper ninyo, or kahit anong types pa yan ng program or ng plan, the best framework that you can adapt is yung tinatawag natin na IPO model. Okay po. So ngayon, please kindly reflect, look to your purpose and intention of the study. Ano ba yung dahilan? Bakit natin pinag-aralan yung study na to? At the end of the conduct of our paper, meron ba tayong mapuproduce na isang output na alam natin makakatulong to inform the community regarding the problem na pinag-aaralan natin? Okay po? Then, ano ba yung mga basic guidelines na kailangang maintindihan at kailangang sundin ng mga researchers natin when they want to construct an IPO model? So number one is that you have first to identify your inputs. Pag sinabi nating inputs, these are the factors or resources that are needed for the conduct of your research paper. Technically, these include the data sources, materials, and participant information. In a coconut shell, in layman's term, para mas madali nating maintindihan, usually, ang content ng input is yung declarative statement ng ating statement of the problem. Ulitin ko ha, in a coconut shell, kapag sinabi nating input, ito yung declarative version ng ating statement of the problem. Halimbawa, meron tayong statement of the problem na what are the demographic profiles of the respondents in terms of age, gender, and length of service? What are the factors that affect the motivation of the students? Then number three, what plan of action may be proposed to enhance the motivation of the students? If that's so, yung first two questions na meron ka sa statement of the problem mo will be put on your input. At ano yun? Number one, demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, sex, and length of service. Number two, different factors that affect the motivation of the students. Bakit dalawa lang, sir? Ano yung nangyari sa pangtatlo kong question, which is based on the findings of the study, what motivational plan may be produced? Take note, SOP number 3 talks about the plan, talks about motivational plan. And that is your foresee output. So, yun yung nakikita mong output na gagawin mo at the end of the study. Technically, hindi natin siya ilalagay sa input. Saan natin siya ilalagay? Sa output part of our paper. Okay po? That's it. Then, the second thing is that you have to identify what are the processes that you will be utilizing for you to obviously answer the questions that you have on your statement of the problem. Halimbawa, are you going to use experiment? Magsusurvey ka ba? Mag-i-interview ka ba? Or whatsoever. So all the processes that you will be utilizing for your paper to gather the needed data will be put on your process part. Okay? And for the output naman, okay, ito yung na-mention ko na sa inyo kanina, you have to think of ano ba yung magiging output ng paper mo at the end of the study. So kanina, dun sa 3 example questions natin, demographic profile, factors, and motivational plan, obviously, yung SOP number 3 will be your output kasi you are planning to create a plan of actions. Okay? I mean, motivational plan for the study. So that will serve as your output. Halimbawa naman, Sir Giovanni, wala po kaming output na ganon. Ang gusto lang po naming malaman is, meron bang relationship ang demographic profile at yung factors na nakakaapekto sa motivation of the students? Pwede pa rin po ba kaming gumamit ng IPO? The answer is yes. So sir, ano po yung ilalagay po namin sa output part ng paper po namin? Pwede nyo dong ilagay a significant relationship between the demographic profile of the respondents and the factors affecting their motivation. Output ba yun? Yes. Kasi at the end of your paper, na-discover mo na, okay, ang demographic profile pala ay mayroong relationship sa mga factors na nakakaapekto sa motivation ng mga estudyante. So, ibig sabihin, pwede natin gamitin ng IPO, may output man tayo or wala. Pero best use ang IPO model kung meron talaga tayong specific na output na gagawin on our research paper. Okay po? Then after that, this one is an option. Optional po yung step number 4, which is yung paglalagay ng feedback loop. Halimbawa, usually ito ay ginagamit kapag meron ka talagang specific na output na gustong gawin sa paper mo. Halimbawa, yung motivational plan. Sa pinakababa, meron doon nakalagay na feedback going to the input. So, ano yung purpose noon? Later on, i-discuss ko sa inyo kung ano yung purpose ng feedback loop na yun. But this is an optional. Or this is an option, should I say. And then, kapag nalaman na natin kung ano yung ilalagay natin sa input, sa process and output, or whether kailangan ba natin ng feedback loop, makikreate na tayo ng diagram kung saan ipapakita na natin yung ating IPO model. Okay po? Then after that, let's now proceed on a specific example. So this is an example of IPO model na meron talaga silang specific na output na gagawin. So technically, katulad ng na-mention ko sa inyo kanina, yung information na inilagay nila on the input part are taken from the statement of the problem that they have on their research paper. So ano-ano yung statement of the problem na meron sila? Number 1, identify the different marketing strategies being implemented by different catering services sa Balayan, Batangas. Number 2, malaman kung paano yung mga marketing strategies na yon nakakaapekto sa mga catering businesses dito sa Batangas. Number three, malaman yung mga challenges na na-encounter ng mga catering services dito sa Balayan. The number four, ano yung mga opportunities na ibinigay ng mga marketing strategies na to sa mga catering services na meron tayo sa Balayan. So technically, these are taken from their statement of the problem. And then, ano yung process na gagamitin nila for them to answer their input or para makakuha sila ng information na needed for their input? Number one, they will be developing a research instrument. Then after nilang makapag-develop ng research instrument, ipapa-validate nila yung instrument na yun. After that, magko-conduct sila ng interview. Then after that, i-analyze ang data sa pamamagitan ng cross-case analysis. Then lastly is i-interpret na nila yung data nila. Hanggang sa makarating sila doon sa kanilang output, which is magpo-propose sila ng marketing strategies para sa mga catering businesses na meron tayo dito sa Balayan. And sa pinakababa ng ating IPO model, meron tayong feedback loop. So ito yung feedback loop. Kumbaga, ang purpose ng feedback loop is that ma-check whether yung output na pinroduce ng mga researchers ay sumasagot, uma-align sa contents na inilagay nila sa input. Or in some other cases, naglalagay tayo ng feedback loop para malaman natin paano natin pwedeng i-improve yung ating pinropose na output. Usually, ginagamit yun kapag meron ka pang time para i-implement yung iyong output. Halimbawa, meron ka pang 3 months na natitira bago matapos yung research timetable nyo or yung research subject ninyo. So with that 3 months time na natitira, pwede mong i-implement yung output na ginawa mo, and then kapag in-implement mo siya, interviewin mo yung mga taong gumamit noon, and then from that interview, kuhanin mo yung feedback nila para malaman mo paano mo pa pwedeng i-enhance yung iyong marketing strategy. Okay? Then sa pinakababa ng IPO model, katulad ng ibang mga models na meron tayo, meron siyang research paradigm or explanation ng framework na ginawa natin. So paragraph number 1, okay, ay nakafocus on the input part. No? It talks about the input part of the paper. The second paragraph talks about the procedures or the processes that this research paper or that the researchers will use on the study. The third paragraph is all about the outcomes, no? And the last paragraph is all about the feedback, no? Or yung tinatawag natin na feedback loop for the purpose of improving the proposed marketing strategy. So that is sample number 1 ng IPO model. Halimbawa, Sir Joanny, yung paggagawa namin ng paper namin ay sakto lamang doon sa timetable ng subject. Kailangan pa po ba namin gumawa or kailangan pa po ba namin maglagay ng feedback loop? So katulad ng na-mention ko sa inyo kanina, ang paglalagay naman ng feedback loop ay optional na lang. So tingnan nyo itong sample na to. Same context, pero hindi na sila naglagay dito ng feedback loop sa pinakaibaba. They do not have here the feedback loop. Kasi, ang intention lang ng researchers ng study na to ay makapag-propose na lang ng marketing strategy. Pero hindi na para i-implement pa yung kanilang ginawang marketing strategy. And then katulad ng first sample natin, meron tayo ditong discussions ng ating research framework na ginawa. Paragraph 1 for the input, paragraph 2 for the process, and paragraph 3 for the output. Okay po? Then after that, sir, can you show an example of IPO model na walang output na katulad nung pinakita mo kanina na marketing strategy o di kaya naman action plan? So here, yung next example natin is an example of IPO model na walang plan of action or walang specific na plan na gagawin. Tingnan ninyo kung paano nila kinompose yung kanilang input, process, and output. So in the input part, kinuha nila yung demographic profile ng kanilang respondents in terms of sex, year level, and internet accessibility. Then after that, yung current curriculum na ginagamit ng institution. Okay? Then paano nila uh, bibigyan ng sagot yung kanilang input sa pamamagitan ng pag-collect ng profile ng respondents, pagbibigay ng questionnaire, pag-organize ng sagot ng mga respondents, and paggamit ng statistical data doon sa nakuhang output, doon sa nakuhang information, should I say. Then after that, ano yung output nila? Ano yung nilagay nila sa output nila? Ma-assess yung level of satisfaction ng mga college students in the use of Google Classroom when it comes to online learning. So that's it. That is an example of output. That is an example of discovery as well. Kasi hindi naman pag sinabing output, kailangan mga plan agad. Pag sinabi nating output, it could be the contributions na pwede nating maibigay doon sa institution na pinagawa natin ng study. Then after that, you just have to put here an explanation of that particular IPO model that you use, katulad nung meron tayo dito sa taas. Okay? And this ends my discussion of the different types of conceptual framework. I hope and I pray, my dear researchers, that you are able to understand, no, yung different conceptual frameworks na pwede natin gamitin sa paper natin. And just a short of recap, we can utilize two conceptual frameworks sa paper natin. And dapat kung gagamit tayo ng dalawang conceptual frameworks, ang una nating gagamitin ay theoretical framework. And this theoretical framework will be partnered with the four remaining conceptual frameworks that we have, such as causal, descriptive, procedural, and IPO model. On the other hand, you can also select one conceptual framework only on your research paper. Hindi naman kailangan dalawa. No, pwedeng isa lang ang gamitin ninyong conceptual framework sa paper ninyo. You just have to assess, evaluate, ano ba yung objectives, ano ba yung purpose ng paper natin. And we have to make sure that everything is aligning, no, in our research paper. That ends my PowerPoint presentation and video discussion. Thank you so much for listening.